So this is a project that I've been working on, and I'm calling it the Tempest dagger. Now, I'm not really too set on that name, so if anyone's got any better suggestions, I'm open to hearing them. But with all that out of the way, get right into it. So this is actually designed after this railroad spike that I found, and I thought it was really interesting look, so I whipped it up into a dagger form, but I didn't actually want to use the spike that I had because it just looked like it'd take a lot more skill than I have. There wasn't much material to work with. So I went out and I found something else from a railroad, and it was just one of those little railroad nails. And turns out these things, they just kind of pop up everywhere. They just grow all around and they just kind of spawn in. No, these ones actually I put there. So shockingly, I put them there because somebody had been taking all mine. So to keep them safe, I just threw them into a creek and waited until it dried up and then went and picked them up. But unfortunately, because this took me so long to actually complete, I lost a bunch of the footage. So there's going to be a lot of jump cuts here. And well, speaking of cuts, you might want to watch this. You might be able to hear something in this clip right here.
All right, well, that's why you don't screw around with tools. If this had been something able to cut, well, meant to cut more flesh-like things, I would probably have a slice straight to the bone. Instead, I got a really deep slice, so I'm going to go and get that patched up and do this smarter next time.
Surprisingly, that didn't actually cut me too bad. I mean, it did, but it never bled or anything, and it healed okay. I don't have much time to show off the scar in this video, so I might do it in another short or something, but I think I got pretty lucky on that one. Don't really want to mess with the hands. But back to the video. So this is after I've got it mostly roughed in, and I'm ready to temper it. It's just good enough that if I did any more, the tempering process would ruin it, so I might as well stop here and temper it. And I don't make knives. I'm not a blacksmith, so I actually have no idea what I'm doing. But I figured, I've seen all the videos online, they heat it up red hot and then they put it in oil. So I figured I'd go ahead and just do that. I wouldn't recommend you do this at home because it's probably stupid, but it was really fun. It's super entertaining. There it is, getting all red hot. And it was pretty awesome, and you'll see in a minute why you probably don't want to do this at home. Well, mostly because you're dealing with really, really hot metal, which I'll actually show off the couple of burns that I got from that, but there it is. Oh, man. Something so satisfying about dipping in the hot metal. And man, look at that thing burn in just a second. So what I think is happening here is I think as it vaporized the oil, it made a jacket of gas around it, like a little shield, but eventually that got forced out. And when that got forced out, the oil was able to make direct contact and immediately just started boiling, and it got pretty active for a little bit. A lot more active than I'd expect, but I think I used cooking oil or something, so I don't know why I was surprised. I guess I wasn't really surprised, but I thought it looked awesome, so I might have to do more of this stuff in the future, just for how it looks, not for how it smells. It did not smell good, but there's that. Look at that nerd. He just picked that up with his bare hands. Not a smart guy. Yeah, you give yourself a thumbs down. It didn't really burn that bad. It did burn off my fingerprint, but didn't really leave too much lasting damage. But yeah, that's one thing. I'm not a professional, but I can tell you from my professional opinion, if the metal was red hot 5 minutes ago, chances are it's still hot enough to burn you. You're not as fireproof as you think. Don't pick up the hot metal. May not look red hot. Oh, but it is. Especially if it's covered in burning oil. But there it is, and if you listen right here, I'm going to show off just how you tell if it's hardened. If your file skids off the side like that, you can kind of tell that it's taken on a hardening. And after this process, you usually temper it. And based on what I've seen, that's just leaving it at a lower temperature, something like 200 degrees for a couple of hours. But because this metal was so thick and I don't have a kiln or anything, I just let it be. I figure with the metal being this thick, it probably won't chip and it probably won't snap because it's thick enough that it's probably going to be okay. Don't question me. I'm not the professional, but I am. Don't question me. So after a couple hours of sanding, here it is, and I think it turned out really good. I'm really happy with it, to be honest. But it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what the tests show. So I've got to test this thing, and before I do that, I'm going to show off those burns that I got. They're not bad enough that they actually like scorched my skin, but they're bad enough that they burned off my fingerprint. So it's kind of hard to see, but I think you can see it. Where I got all that metal dust, you can see certain splotches where there's not metal dust. That's not because I didn't get dust there. It's because I had no fingerprint for the dust to get stuck in, and so it just didn't. It just kind of rubbed off. So you can see where I burned myself on those 3 fingers. And here's one or two last looks at this dagger. I'm really happy with it, to be honest. I haven't really seen this design anywhere. I think I came up with it, but obviously there's nothing original anymore, so probably not. And time to get to the testing. So it turns out, and I'm just realizing this now, I actually am not a knife thrower. Yes, I did dress up for the occasion. I'm actually not a knife thrower. So I actually spent most of the testing trying to figure out how to throw a dagger, which is fun, except for this dagger's pretty heavy, and when it ricochets, because I miss often, it usually ends up flying back at me, which is terrifying because, well, I'm not that good at making daggers, but things sharp, things pointy, things heavy, so it wouldn't be fun to get hit with. And yeah, there you can see a great example of that. But one thing I have learned is that in learning how to throw knives, I've actually learned how to become an incredible dodger. So if you throw a knife at me, chances are I might be able to dodge it. Please don't ever test that. That's not true. That is a lie. So throughout this video, I have said I'm not a professional, and that's true. I'm not being humble. I really have no idea what I'm doing, and I honestly think having no idea what you're doing, it's not actually a bad thing, because, well, as long as you know how to do it safe. It's not a bad thing if you know how to do it safe, because not knowing what you're doing, it kind of gets rid of a process, and so that means that what you're working on has room to evolve. Like, if you'll see the original picture versus what it ended up being, it's a lot different because it evolved, it changed. My image of it changed, and also it just kind of happened. I ran out of material in some places that I wanted it. I didn't have materials in other places that I needed, and that's what happened. And then it came out looking pretty presentable, I think. And I was pretty happy with it. But you got to test it to know if you're really happy with it. Here it is. After months of waiting, I finally finished it, and I think it looks great. I really like how it kind of evolved. Like, I really like the original design, so in the future I might have to go back and revisit this project and remake it with the actual piece of metal I was going to use. But the design I have now I really love. I might make more of them, who knows. There's a lot of mites. But I hope you enjoyed it, and I kind of like the name Tempest Dagger now. Now, I'm not going to lie. I think it's kind of a cool name, so I'm probably going to stick with it, but if there is a better name out there and someone mentions it to me, I might change it in the future. One never knows. But without any further ado, thanks for watching, and catch you next time.